Ta-da!
Hey, all right.
Wow, I haven't seen you for like a week
I
or
know.
more.
Yeah, 'cause I was
So
gone.
you were gone on the floating mall.
I was. So fun. I'm
So
not gonna lie.
you're fired up like crazy over this meetup. I know your
Yes.
belly's full.
Yeah.
Tell us
Oh,
about it.
yes. Well, it was at a Brazilian place
Uh-oh,
here
you're,
in my town. Uh-oh, am I fading out? Okay. Yeah, you were kind of fading too. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure what the
that's
issue
all
is
right.
here.
It'll be
Um, Yeah, but it was a
go.
lot of fun. It was at a Brazilian place in the town that I live in, and we had about 20 people show up, and we ate and we ate and we shared stories and got to, meet some new people and see some people from the last meetup too. So it was really exciting and had some, really cool, fun people show up. So it was definitely a success. I'm pretty happy about that and looking forward to the next one. Yeah. It was pretty
Awesome.
cool. Mike, guy from Austin, he was there and he spoke. And Chris, the ketologist, he was there and he talked a little bit. And it was
Great.
it was very, very cool. We had lots of cool people there. So
So you had like your
it's
own
nice to
little
be around
room?
like-minded people.
So you
Yeah,
had your
we
own little
did. It was
room?
really cool. Yes, we had our own room and we had, doors that could close or whatever. And we all sat at one big long table and it worked out great. It really did. It was really nice. And, because we were in a separate little room, unlike last time, we were actually able to stand up and people who wanted to talk and, tell what their story was got to do that. Where last time we just really couldn't do that because we were kind of in an open area, even though we
Hmm.
were like in the back part of the restaurant. It just made it kind of hard to really, and we were at separate tables too. So it made it really hard. But yeah, it was really cool. I really liked the way everything worked, and the staff was wonderful. And of course, the food was wonderful. I'm so full. You almost had to roll me on out of there. It was like that whole not another bite full. Well, let me just tell you, I reached that point, and it was like I had to go, no, no more, none.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no going past that satiety bear.
No, not for
It's a
me.
t- I can't do it. Once
I can't
once
either.
I hit that fullness thing, it's like the system's like
Yep.
it's not just no, it's like hell no.
Yeah.
You're spit it out, give it to the dog.
It was
You're not
like
eating
shut
that.
off. Yep, that was for sure.
That
Yep.
sounds like you had a great time, and
We did.
I couldn't help but think, man, I know the filet mignon on those coming out of those spits was so
Yeah,
good.
oh, it was all good. And they had some different stuff that this was like our fifth time there. And they had chicken hearts, and I've never had the chicken hearts there. And they also had like I can't remember what else, something, I don't know, prime rib or I don't know, something that we had not had
Nose
before there. But
Nose to tail, all you can eat Brazilian
yeah.
steakhouse. Now, Dr. Paul Saladino would be like, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And they did really great, the staff. They had people, just coming in and out, circulating the
Hmm.
food. And yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that because I was like, here we are in this closed off room and, the restaurant is all open, but they were able to, I don't think anybody went hungry, that's for sure. So, it all worked out really well. So yeah.
Well, my wife, Carnivory Art Life, and I have been talking about we're going to have to start researching some restaurants in this area and try to get one put together
Yes,
here in Jacksonville because
you
it's been
should.
too long since we had one. We had one in February. We had a great turnout and had a fantastic time,
Yep.
but it just hasn't happened mainly because nobody's organized it. So if
Right.
nobody else is
Hint,
going to do
hint.
it, I guess it's going to have to be us.
Yeah, it's fun though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it can be a little stressful, but it's fun. It's completely worth it. To be around like-minded people that are in your area. It's really interesting because there was a one lady there, and I knew her face, and I'm like, I know her from somewhere. Oh my gosh, and even her name. And it turns out we graduated together. So we
Cool.
actually went to school together. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting out the
That's
yearbook." So
awesome.
yeah, I knew I had seen her, and I was just like, "How do I know you?" But you hate. Oh, okay, where do I know you from? So Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about one really kind of silly but kind of cool thing.
Yeah.
That's related to this. You know, we talk about, people are like, well, why shouldn't we eat plants? And oxalate, you know, is one of the big things. And we also, you're aware of this, Sally Norton is like the foremost expert on oxalate, maybe in North America. Well, she recently was interviewed at a website, MERCLA.com or MERCOLA.com. Yeah, Mercola.com.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend it. Well, she advertised it on her Instagram this morning, and she only tagged one person.
I guess you needed to hear it, Mr. Plant Eater.
Yeah, and I just thought that was my inner meat nerd just went crazy.
That's hysterical.
And I listened to it. I was going to listen to it at work, but I listened to it this afternoon while I was doing something. And man, I did not know that. I knew the potatoes were probably and had filled up with oxalate, but I hadn't had it confirmed. I hadn't heard her say it yet. I just speculated, and she confirmed it. And I told again my wife that I said, well, that explains a lot, because growing up, there was always potatoes.
Yeah, we did too.
And,
one form or another.
Maybe not for breakfast, although, you know, hash browns and scrambled eggs, and bacon, that was not an uncommon breakfast growing up.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then also growing up at lunch, there was always potato chips, because I was a potato chip freak.
To go along with your sandwich.
Oh, absolutely! You gotta have that to go with that, because that bread wouldn't be any good without those chips.
That's for sure.
And
everybody knows that.
And at dinner, there was always some form of potato, mashed potato, potatoes au gratin. I hated that.
I liked it.
Fried potatoes. There was never a meal that I didn't have it. So it's truly a miracle that I didn't go nuts sooner. I mean, it really is. Because those oxalates started building up in my system at an extremely early age.
Yeah.
Just as
we had potatoes all the time too. I mean, like every dinner. Yeah.
Because starch is good for us. How was that idea ever sold anyway, that starch was good for you?
I don't know. And eat the rainbow.
Oh,
don't forget that one.
Oh my. That reminds me of something that Dr. Baker said today on his Instagram, and I highly recommend folks go scour his page on a regular basis, because there's all kinds of goodies there every day. But that the FDA companies are now allowed to put cotton in certain food items.
Cotton? Why? For
filler, I'm sure.
Fiber. Because we need more fiber.
Yeah. So I just couldn't help but think, you know, I don't believe I want any of my FDA-approved cotton fiber.
Yeah. I'm not really getting that one.
Yeah, we'll let the vegans have that. They can have my share, and I'll just eat their share of the meat.
Whoever's giving us hearts, love it.
Yes, we appreciate you all very much. So what was life like as a carnivore on a floating mall, otherwise known as a cruise? Because you spent last week on a cruise with your husband.
I did. And I'm just going to say we had a blast. It was fantastic. I had been on 2 other cruises or maybe 3 as a keto person. And I had zero issues finding food keto. But this was the first time as a carnivore, and I had already told everyone, this is no secret, that I planned on having alcohol and, you know, maybe a few desserts, something along those lines. Other than that, I was sticking to carnivore, and I did. I will say, though, that the only issue I really had was at lunchtime. And we didn't get out of bed till like 10:30, and they stopped breakfast at 11. And we just happened to catch one breakfast buffet. We don't really like buffets anyway, but like 2 days before the end of the cruise. And it was amazing, and it had everything. And I would have gone, oh man, I would have just had an early lunch, because I only eat twice a day, and that's all I did on the ship too. But the breakfast was great. You could even build your own omelet if you wanted to do that. They had boiled eggs, so that's completely safe. And they had good tasting bacon. I had some really raunchy bacon at this one restaurant before we left for the cruise, and I was kind of real skeptical again about eating somebody else's bacon, but it was actually really good. Anyway, I only did that one morning, and then the very last morning when we were waiting to get off the ship, they had a buffet going. Anyway, so that's the only time I ate there. But the lunch buffet sucked. I'm not even kidding you. It sucked. And even the restaurant where you could, go in and have lunch, they had stuff like salads. Well, okay, I'm not a rabbit. No, not a rabbit. And sandwich kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't do sandwiches. And everything else was just kind of like, no, it was just not okay for me. So I ended up really not hardly eating lunch. Like we'd go to the buffet to see if there was something we could eat there. And they had a carving station. And most of the time I could eat something off of there. But there were like one day they had brisket. So you're thinking, brisket. Oh, yeah. How can you go wrong with that? Yeah, it was covered in barbecue sauce.
Oh, my first thought was, what was it marinated in?
Yeah. Even besides that, even if because I didn't know and I wasn't going to ask, but when it's swimming in barbecue sauce, there is no doubt about it. So yeah, I didn't eat. And so lunch was kind of difficult for me. I'll be honest with you. It just wasn't a good experience lunch-wise. But dinner, zero issues. And they were so very accommodating. We ate in the dining room, and most nights I got a steak from the steakhouse just because I'm spoiled like that, and that's what I like. And I like my fillets, I'm not going to lie. But there was usually another dish where I would like, okay, maybe if I could just have the meat off that. And I would tell them, I just want the meat. And, by the end, they knew my thing, and they thought it was hysterical. But I did try like escargot, and I found out that the crust on the top had some, what was it, flour in it, I think. But I didn't eat that anyway. I just kind of scooped the escargot out and kind of tapped it on the tray and just ate it basically with the butter. And that was really good. So I did that a little bit. But as far as the main dishes went, and at night, it was great on the cruise. I mean, we had no issue at all. And I did do what I said I was going to do, and I did have me some alcohol. I'm not going to lie, and I would do it again because it was quite fun and quite yummy. But yeah, so, and I had a few desserts. I'm not going to lie, I did. And but here's the thing. I think this is something we had discussed, and we were going to kind of talk about our different points or whatever.
Before you do that, before you go, let me interrupt because we got one question in here from Goodbye Bobby Diaz, and they want to know, so do you take supplements? And
I do not.
She does not. I supplement magnesium. And that, I also, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We'll stop in the middle of what we're doing because we want to answer your questions. We appreciate them. We look forward to them. So you had your desserts. Yeah, you had planned this, and the difference between you and I is if you go off the reservation, you pay a price, but it's a price that you don't mind paying because it's not life-threatening.
Right.
It doesn't inconvenience other people.
Right.
It's a minor thing, and it goes away, and you're right back on the carnivore train without missing a beat.
Yes. No big deal. Yep.
Whereas if I go off the reservation...
Poor Danielle would be suffering.
Yes, my wife would be suffering my insanity, which would be almost immediate and severe. I was explaining to somebody today that they said they'd had a McDonald's milkshake, and I'm like, that has so much. You got to realize 1 grain of sugar slightly damages all the mitochondria in the human body. think about that.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that whatever it is in my body, my makeup, if I went off the reservation, it's a bad thing. And if I go off the reservation in public,
yeah,
and the crazy starts coming out, because I'm an assertive person.
No.
Well, you take that and put it inside somebody who's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and has no fear and believes they're right.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for a disaster times 1,000.
And scary for other people around.
Yeah, so let alone out on a floating mall with however many couple thousand other people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I'd have been the one guy that got thrown in the brig that year. But the point is, seriously, for some people, it really is. It's a serious matter.
Yes.
And it's important for everybody to understand. We all don't have to worry about the same things.
Exactly.
We don't have the same specific details. That the reasons why we eat this way are very similar.
Yes.
But the consequences, if we jump off the train, are vastly different.
Yes. And that's the thing. People need to really, really understand when they make these decisions. Like, I made the decision, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be one of these posers. I did do that. I did have alcohol. I did have dessert. But I also know me, and I've done this before. And I know that I am fat adapted enough and metabolically flexible enough to where I can come back. That very morning I left the ship, I ate carnivore when I left that ship, and from then on I've been carnivore. So it was not an issue for me. I didn't wake up craving stuff. I didn't have these severe reactions. I didn't have a lot of bloating, just a teeny tiny bit, nothing major. It was very, very minute, and that's kind of what I figured. There was only one kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a major thing, but it kind of freaked me out a little bit, and it may not have had anything to do with what I ate. It may not have. I've been having a lot of issues with my esophagus, like wanting to spasm and close, and I've had to have it stretched before. So this is prior to doing keto or anything like that. It was just an issue I had, and my mom has the same issue. I don't know if it's hereditary. I don't know. Anyway, one night my esophagus started like really squeezing tight shut, and it was spasming, and every time I would swallow my own spit, and it would have this and I started kind of freaking out, and I couldn't sleep, and so my husband, he's trying to research it, finding out what could be causing this, and one irritant, alcohol. So, maybe it didn't have anything to do with it, but I'm sure it didn't help. But anyway, I dealt with that, and that was a little freaky. But next time, I'm not saying I'm not going to do it next time, because I will, but I will be prepared. So, I will know a little bit better. But I figured. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Aunt Elle was just asked the question. She said, control should be controlled before you could go off the rails.
I'll be honest with you, I'm going to do it again. So, okay, I do not advocate for people going off plan and just willy-nilly. You really, really need to know your own body and understand what you can tolerate and what the consequences are going to be. You have to understand that and be aware and be willing to accept the consequences. And like with Brett, that's not acceptable. What I went through is not a big deal. I had very, very little effect of anything. And I'm not saying it was a good thing. It's not. But, I was willing to pay that price, and I did, and whatever, it's all good. But, some people can't do that. You have to know your body, and you have to, if you're one of those people who have just one little sweet taste and then you're just off the rails completely, don't do it. Just don't do it. Now, see, I know from experience that I don't have that issue. So I wasn't worried about it, and I didn't have that issue, and it's all good. I'm back on track. I'm not craving. I'm still eating my 2 meals just like normal. It's all good. So you've got to know your body.
That's right. Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Very. Got to be honest with yourself. You cannot You cannot be dishonest about that with yourself in
That's
any way,
very
shape, or
true.
form, or you're going to set yourself up for disaster.
Yes.
Carnivore Chef has asked
Yes.
some questions that I have lots of experience with. Any
Uh-oh.
ideas for leg cramps? I'm taking magnesium, and it does seem to help. Any other ideas? Okay, I take magnesium. I am a huge fan also of this magnesium lotion that you can get from Amazon. It's awesome. I put just a little bit on my legs and feet every night before bedtime, and then it's helped. Something else that I found has helped is that stretching
Mm.
is a big thing, especially if you're sedentary or if you're extremely active and forget to stretch. It makes a difference. Something else I do too is I warm my calves and my feet up before bedtime with atomic balm or Bengay, cream de Jezik, some kind of, those heat inducing liniments. And that really seems, because I figured out it's not just an electrolyte issue. For me, it's also a muscular issue because I'm extremely active. I walk a lot of miles a week. I'm exercise. I'm lifting weights at the gym, 3 times a week or more. So I needed to attack it from 2 angles. I hope that's helpful for you, Carnivore Chef. That's how and for the most part, I think there's been one night in the last 10 days that I had a cramp wake me up.
Mm.
And it wasn't one of those, oh my God, my foot's going to fall off. But yeah, I've had them in my ankles where it's like you think your foot's literally separating itself into 2 things. It's not a good time.
Yeah, it's something I don't normally have, but on the ship because it's sometimes so hard to get an elevator that we just walk the stairs, and I don't normally walk the stairs because we don't have any stairs. So my calves were kind of like, ow, I don't think we really use these very much. So I had a little bit of a tightening in my calves at night, a couple of nights, but I usually don't have issues with that. So.
Bobby Diaz is asking another question. Why do we have to supplement with magnesium? Because for folks who've been eating the standard American diet for most of their life, their electrolytes and whatnot are geared towards sugar. And the body's burning energy for sugar. And when you convert from a sugar burner to a fat burner, your body expels an enormous amount of water weight, and then with that goes a lot of vital nutrients, magnesium being one of those. And it takes a while for your body to reacclimate. And we know from 10 and 20-year veterans of this way of eating, it varies from individual to individual. Some people need to eat more salt. Some people need to give up salt altogether. So there's going to be some trial and error for you new people in that.
Absolutely.
Does that imply that eating meat has limitations? No, it does not. Mm-hmm. It merely shows that for different individuals, there are different requirements.
Absolutely.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yep. And me, I don't really have an issue with any of it, so.
My wife, she has a cramp once every 2 months, 3 months, maybe. It's not a non-issue for her. It's a non-issue for our son, who's strict carnivore. He doesn't have any problems with cramps whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just very individual, I think. And some people are just, need more electrolytes than others. Even when I first started keto, I didn't really have that issue. Like the keto flu they talk about, I never did that. I never had that. So, I guess some people are luckier than others in that area. I don't know. I can't read that.
I read it, but I'm going to let it go.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want to start an argument. Let's see. Yeah, this way of eating. I'm with you, Carnivore Chef. I'm not depressed anymore. If I had cramps for the rest of my life, it would be an aggravation. I'm not going to deny it. But you know what? It would still be 1 trillion times better than being mentally ill.
That's for sure.
Big time.
Yep.
Moving along. I want to say congratulations to Ken Berry and his wife Nisha on the birth of their baby boy, whose name I don't know. Do you know the baby's name?
Yeah,
Beckett?
Beckett is what they're calling him.
Cool. That's what they're calling him now. When he's a teenager, I'm sure they'll call him something different.
Well, that's like his third name. He has 5 names. Well, a first, a middle, then another middle, I think, and then a hyphenated last name, Salisbury. It's a very long name, but they're going by the third name. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, I need to exercise some of that assertiveness. Goodbye, Bobby Diaz. What about the microbiota of the gut? Bobby, we are not here to debate this issue of how we eat. We are here to teach people and share our experiences. If you want to argue and debate those kinds of issues, go find Dr. Paul Saladino.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? He's into that. That's not what we're about. I've been living, eating meat, and drinking water now for 482 days. No sugar, no plants, no carbs. I haven't been on a cruise, and I've had exactly this many cheat days. My gut is spectacular. I have no complaints on any level. I haven't had a headache. I haven't had a headache since the last week of July of 2018. You think my gut microbiome is in distress on any level? Please.
Well, I feel better than I ever have since I got rid of the fiber and all the plant-based stuff. I no longer have bloating. I don't have gas. I don't have constipation. I don't have any of that stuff that plagued me. Even on keto, which I thought was so much better that I thought that's what normal was or what good was. But once I eliminated all of that, I was like, holy cow. I had no clue digestion could feel like this. It was amazing. So, I can't imagine my gut biome being in trouble if I feel that good. It makes no sense. So,
okay,
yeah,
Bobby,
I'm not the least bit worried.
Okay, Bobby says, awesome. I was just curious about your thoughts. I was on keto for a year. I'm not judging, promise. That's great. Listen, here's what I worry about after 482 days of living this way, losing 40 plus years of mental illness symptoms. I have the libido that I did when I was 20. I can move around better than at 58 than I could when I was 20. I was not thinking as clearly at 20 as I do now. I don't worry about anything. I don't worry about what I eat. I don't worry about nitrites. I don't care about my microbiome. I don't care about any of it. Cholesterol. I don't worry about protein in my kidneys. I don't worry about my insulin spiking. I don't worry about anything. The only thing I worry about is is it time to go to the store and buy more bacon? That's my only concern. Seriously. It really is. It's the only thing I worry about. And I think more people would do a lot better in the beginning if they didn't worry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and there's so much propaganda and negative stuff that you can't. We were talking about this at the meetup about how even doctors are preaching this stuff. Oh, you need to go plant-based. Quit eating all that red meat and your cholesterol and statins. That but. Who are you going to believe? A doctor who has credentials, or somebody who is actually living it and experimenting and has done research. It's just really hard. I mean, everybody's just going to have to figure that kind of thing out for themselves because there's so much out there that is just not really right. It's not settled science. It's just not. And there's no real proof to back it up is the thing. Even though it's made to look like there's not. If you get down to it, it's, epidemiologically, done or, twisted or whatever. So you just got to be really careful. And that goes with everything, even on something on our side, what we want to agree with or whatever. You still got to be careful where that's coming from and, use your head and, how is it affecting you? How is it making your life better or worse? Or what is it? And, like we talked about, we're individual. So there's going to be some things that are going to be more problematic. For me, it was fiber. I had no clue. Well, I did know excessive fiber, like, taking it additionally, like flax seeds or something like that. But I had no idea that the vegetables that I loved were causing me so much grief. I had no clue until I experimented. And then, I don't care what anybody else tells me. I do not care. I feel better. And, I don't have the issues anymore. So no matter what you want to say, how much my doctor wants to tell me I need to be eating my broccoli, I'm not, because I feel better. And it's not because I dislike broccoli. I loved broccoli. So it's not that. It's I feel better. So
I hated broccoli before I knew broccoli was bad for me. Okay. We appreciate that so much, Bobby. That's great. I'm sorry that you had to suffer it all, and I'm glad you're better.
yeah.
Thank you, that keto couple. We appreciate you coming in. Thanks so much for the shout, the kind words. And yeah, veggies don't want to be eaten. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's why they're full of toxins. And isn't it interesting? We can absorb almost 100% of the toxins found in plants. But when it comes to nutrients that are in plants, these superfoods, we can only absorb maybe 2 to 4% of the total nutrition that's in there. So we get all the toxins and a minor amount of nutrition. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't really make sense. Yeah.
Even if it didn't make me crazy, why would I knowingly consume a toxin?
Oh, I don't know, because alcohol's good.
No, I'm not. Well, see, that's your choice you made. I'm not talking about. No.
So I can't really say much there. So.
I'm not picking on you for that.
Sure,
I promise.
Sure, we know.
No, because you paid. You want to tell them the price you paid for drinking? What was the price you paid for drinking alcohol?
I can tell you the monetary price we paid.
Well, I wasn't talking about
there's really, other than the possibility of the esophageal, constriction, which that was already happening before I ever left, kind of. So I don't know. It probably aggravated it. I don't know. But that's really about it. I mean, other than,
you didn't have a headache?
No, not
really.
Oh,
I'm so jealous.
No.
See, that was one reason why I quit drinking years ago. Is I quit before I got into the food or anything. I was like, I can't stand the hangovers anymore.
Yeah, me either.
Can't stand
Well, I've told you, a couple of times. I did not know. I never got that bad. I guess they were separated enough or something. It wasn't that horrible.
One thing I want to talk about tonight that we didn't put on our little paper, the time change.
Yeah.
Now, in years past, time change would just ruin me for a week. I mean, ruin me.
Especially the leap forward one. Hated that one.
Oh, yeah. The leap forward was always the worst.
It's like, I lost an hour. I want my hour back.
Oh, and it would take a week. And
yeah.
Last year, even as a young carnivore, before I had my year, that time changed in the spring. Oh my gosh. It was like somebody just slapped me in the face repeatedly. Said, "Here, this is stupid, but we're not going to stop." It was just, I couldn't get my sleep back. I was off kilter a little.
I agree. I was the same way. Yeah.
This time, it hasn't bothered me at all.
Yeah, it hasn't really affected me either, honestly.
I've slept better.
Yeah.
I've slept better. And part of me wonders if this time that we're now in is the
correct time.
It's the correct time. That's what I really wonder about, because
I don't know.
And my wife, Danielle, she's not had any problems either. And it really used to mess her up.
Yeah, it used to mess me up too. I hated it. But yeah, this time hasn't been so bad. But I've been like really busy, so I didn't even pay any attention really.
Yeah, that may have been part of it too. But
Maybe.
there was none of that exhaustion. You remember, you miss an
Oh
hour of
yeah.
sleep and you'd be like
Yep.
wrecked.
Yep.
I haven't had any of that.
Yeah, but that's in the spring when we spring forward. This time we gained an hour. So.
Oh, but see, I've been sleeping 7 and 8. I slept 8 hours last night.
Oh wow.
Oh
That's
yeah.
good.
I normally sleep 5 or 6. So when I get above that, it's,
Well, somebody has been getting up at 4 a.m. to go hunting, and
oh.
it's not me, but yeah, because
And
I
you've had to
kind of
get
sleep
up.
light.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So just enough to where it kind of like wakes me up enough to where I can't really quite go back to sleep. So yeah. But and still no venison, by the way, just saying.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, we might be getting some free venison through somebody at work
That's
soon.
awesome.
They hunt. If they get something, then we'll get something. So
Awesome.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. That's some
Because
good stuff.
I'd like to try some venison mixed in with
It's
my
very,
ground
very,
beef.
very lean. It's very, very lean. That's the one thing. But it needs to be processed correctly. Just
Well,
warning.
that's out of my control.
Uh-huh. So if it's gamey, it's not the deer, it's not the venison, it's the
Sure,
processing.
I
So
understand that.
just
I understand
remember
that.
that.
And here's the thing: if it's gamey, our dog's going to love it. It won't go to waste. It'll be consumed, believe me.
Yeah, my dogs would like it too.
Oh, absolutely. He'll be like, oh, good, this is wonderful. I love this. And just a quick aside, this dog I'm talking about, he's 9 years old. He's about 90 pounds. This time a year ago, I seriously thought I was going to have him put down because he was starting to come up lame. He was obviously having trouble getting around. And I was like, this ain't going to work. And my wife got concerned, and because this is a really good animal. And she did some research and she put him on raw meat. And now he's like, you would never know except around in his face he shows, where he's got the white hair and whatnot. You would never know that he's for a big dog, they age faster than the little or smaller animals do. But you would never really know to look at him that he's as old as he is by his behavior.
Yeah,
He's
awesome.
improved phenomenally. So, I mean, it's for obligate carnivores, you just can't do better than meat. You really can't.
Yep.
So, I'm looking here at what else we talked about.
Somebody said they don't mind the gamey. Really? That's
Well, some
interesting.
people enjoy it. And again, it's one of
I
those.
don't.
It's all of this is very specific to the individual. Our tastes
Very
are
true.
so
Oh,
unique
so
to
true.
ourselves.
Yes.
And, it's like my wife eats completely different. Now, she's just as hardcore carnivore as I am for the most part. She can take, like Amber, she could do a couple things that I wouldn't do for love nor money. Like she actually put onions in her meatloaf. Well, first off, I consider meatloaf a waste of good meat. And anyway, my point is she eats very differently than I do. She likes different. She's constantly thinking, well, what she's going to get the following week because she likes a variety.
I saw her scallops wrapped in bacon. Those looked yummy.
And yeah, they did. Question asked Nourished by Rachel. Do either of us eat liver? Amber?
Well, yeah. There's some videos out there of me trying liver, and that will answer your question.
Raw liver. She ate raw liver and didn't puke.
Yeah, I did. And we talked about this at the meetup. That's really funny. I prefer the taste of the raw liver because it's not strong. It's very mild. It almost doesn't have much of a taste, but the consistency, disgusting. Yeah, I couldn't. It was like just this gelatinousy. I can't even describe it. Not good. But the taste was not bad. I could actually deal with that taste. Now, when the liver is cooked, I don't like the texture or the taste. So, and I've also tried it frozen and cut it up in small pieces and swallowed it like a pill. I've tried everything but pate, and that's my next thing I plan on trying this week. I already have my liver, and I'm going to make pate using bacon and liver. So we're going to see, because I was talking to somebody today at the meetup how they put bacon in it, and it really makes it, taste pretty good. She said it reminds her of refried beans. And that's something that, I grew up with too, that I used to like. I haven't had beans in like, oh God, years, but that kind of sounded interesting to me. So I'm going to give that a go. So we'll see. But as far as me like eating liver on a regular basis, yeah, no, I would wished I could, but I just haven't quite found a way to be able to do it other than like a bite. Yeah.
See, I was taught to only eat the meat I crave and can afford by people who've been living this way for 10 to 20 years. And that's what I do. And I haven't craved liver. Now, I've had it a couple of times wrapped up with bacon and then fried in lard just to see if I would notice.
Yeah.
Did I feel any better? Was there any? And I didn't notice anything except I still hated the taste of it, even wrapped up in bacon. And I don't crave it. And I don't eat something unless I crave it and can afford it. For instance, if I could afford it, you wouldn't see bacon on top of ground beef. You would see bacon on top of filet mignon.
Filet, that's mine.
But I can't afford that, so that's why the ground beef. Somebody said they're eating it for their vegan diet-induced anemia.
Oh, trying to reverse that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean,
yes,
liver is good for you. There's no denying it, but you can overdo it, actually. For some people, it seems like, they do have issues if they eat too much. But
Rachel,
yeah, liver is a good superfood.
If you could find it where you live, beef brains, animal brains are also supposed to be even more nutritious. Now, I don't know about how to prepare that. I don't know anything about consuming it. It's not something on my radar, but for your situation, especially while you're trying to get your blood built back up, it might be worth looking into.
That's probably hard to find.
I also recommend that you eat some salmon. That'll be good. I think that'll be outstanding for you in your current situation as you described it. Yeah. So,
liver
brain with egg yolk. So, Carnivorous Lab Tech says brain with egg yolk. It's looking like egg yolk could just about go with anything
right?
Related.
Yeah. It's kind of like its own little sauce. Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's the other garnish besides bacon. It's just, eggs for me, they look good, but there's no there anymore.
Yeah, I have my, off and on. I've kind of added them back in, but I don't eat them very often. It's just when I feel like I want it, and I don't just crave them very much. So, but I like them. I mean,
well, Dr. Baker talked about he's now back in full training for the rowing championships coming up early next year, and he's gone to just beef and water, because he says he feels better that way and he performs better that way. I haven't missed eggs. I figure if I haven't missed them, I probably ought not eat them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was. Yeah,
and
then for some reason.
And while I'm not doing world-class physical activity on the level he's at, I still want to function at the best level I possibly can, and I want to feel the best I can. So again, I think it comes back to what you were talking about earlier about listening to your body, being in touch with knowing what your limitations are.
Yes.
And if you decide to push your limits, you need to use common sense and plan and not just jump in. And
That's right.
A lot of new carnivores will make in the beginning. They'll jump in, they'll be all gung-ho. I'm going to feel better. And then they'll see something new and shiny, like intermittent fasting. And before they're physically adapted, fat
Yeah.
adapted, if they're prepared physically and with the proper knowledge of what's to come, they want to run it. Oh, there's a 7-day fast. Let's go choose that. That sounds like a great idea. We'll lose weight quicker. Because I get asked that a lot of times. Will this help me lose weight faster?
Yeah.
It's not why we do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. I've been asked that a lot too, like how much did you lose on carnivore? And I'm like, nothing. Matter of fact, I gained a few pounds. Shh. But it's still in the adaptation phase for me, so you got to give it that. And I'm a female, older female, and that's not uncommon. So I have a hard
Right.
time telling people, oh yeah, jump in the carnivore wagon to lose weight. But it's so much more than that. And if you're not healthy, it's very difficult to lose the weight. It's, get healthy to lose weight, not lose weight to get healthy. So, you got to look at it in a totally different way and stop obsessing just on the weight. And believe me,
Absolutely.
been there, done that. I get it. And it's not an easy thing to not focus on. But right now, I'm focused more on health and feeling good and trying different things and experimenting with my body and seeing where I should be. And your body changes. You're ever evolving. Just because something works, for 2 years, all of a sudden it could stop working for you. And you may have to switch things up a little bit. Maybe lower the fat, increase the protein, maybe just experiment on different things. Maybe you need to only go to 2 meals, maybe 1 meal, maybe you need to do 3. You just got to keep, evolving and figuring out what it is your body needs. So
Keto Camp for Weight Loss says it's all about making it a lifestyle. And you're absolutely right.
absolutely.
There's the dietary portion of it, but then there's the mindset. There's the behavioral change, the change in thinking. And replacing old behaviors with new, healthier ones.
Absolutely.
It's all a part of the process. And I can't get into specifics yet because I don't have any, but that's something I hope to be more involved in the future. If somebody's building a course with those kinds of things in mind to help coach and teach people how to do this in a way that sets people up to succeed versus to struggle.
Right.
And I'm really excited about that possibility, that opportunity. We had a lot of great things coming. I want to remind everybody in 9 days, something awesome is going to happen. Dr. Sean Baker's book, The Carnivore Diet, is going to be out. I cannot wait to get my copy. I know you can't wait to get yours.
I got my notification today that they're doing, Amazon is like getting it out sooner, or I don't know, something.
It's going to be delivered. It's going to be at our door. If you pre-ordered it by a certain date, I don't know what the cutoff is. If you pre-order by a certain time, it'll be here on the 19th.
Okay, that must have been what it was about.
That's all that was.
I just kind of quickly glanced through it, but
yeah, well, you were at sea.
Well, I was just a little bit busy. Okay.
You were at sea. So we're very excited about that, and we'll have more to say about that book once it comes out.
Yes. I can't wait to read it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading the success stories that I don't know about. I know there's success stories in there. I know about some of them. Some of them I don't know. I don't know who's in it. So and one of the things I love about this community is because there's always new people, and there's folks that were here before we got here. They just maybe weren't as loudmouth as we were, let's say. They're off doing other things with their life instead of doing podcasts and whatnot. I'm sure there's going to be some of this I've never heard of that are going to be equally inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everybody's got a story, and in every one, there's something, very valuable in it. Like what I learned at the meetup today, as people kind of went around and shared their stories, and they thought it was no big deal. And so they were a little bit, apprehensive about sharing the story. But all success stories are just that, they're successful, so it's nice to have that and to be inspired, and you might be the person that inspires somebody, even though you think your story isn't that big of a deal, so it'll be very interesting to see who's in the book. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And I also think that book is going to be a springboard into the mainstream of Western life, because
I hope so.
you know as well as I do, there are millions of people suffering. They're under the managed illness paradigm that you and I used to suffer in.
Yep.
And this book is like a great big key out of that prison.
Yes.
For people who are unaware that this way of living is even doable, even exists. I mean,
and that's another thing we talked about at the meetup. Yeah. It's like you want to, because, I mean, it's getting more mainstream now. I mean, you see it on all the magazines and the stores, and you see it on TV now. You hear about it in the news. And of course, there's all the, propaganda trying to fight against it, because it's messing with certain people's profits and et cetera. So you have all of that, but,
Yeah, and it's interesting. The closer to the release of the book, the more concern trolls I have coming after me. I had somebody wax eloquent and send me all sorts of links to all sorts of propaganda because they were so worried about me.
Yeah. I'm sure they were super worried
about you. Because if I wasn't already suffering terribly from a nutrient deficiency, I was going to. And I sent them my most recent selfies, and they just couldn't seem to point out where I was suffering at, oddly enough. There's no visual evidence that I'm suffering from anything other than baldness.
Yeah. Well, the scurvy is kind of written all over you, though,
that reminds me of something. One thing I wanted to ask you about, how, because I didn't think about it since you got back. Did you notice any other physical changes, like any change in because you're out eating all these different things. You're out, basically, like I said, and it's really like a floating mall.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by people almost all the time. So you've got more germs and stuff. Did you have any other kind of reactions?
Nope, not really.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Now I felt, pretty darn good, actually. You just never know, because when you are confined, you always hear about these outbreaks, these viral outbreaks and stuff. And so you're washing your hands, you do all that kind of stuff. They are very cautious about all that, but I felt pretty healthy, and I wasn't too worried about it. I figured if I did, come in contact with something, it probably wouldn't affect me as much as maybe somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I believe it has something to do with it. The cleaner you eat, the better, nutrients you give your body, the better your immune system can function. So, not saying you won't get something, but if you do, it's probably not going to be near as bad. And, both my wife and I, we were lucky, no issue.
My wife and I were at a store yesterday, and they're advertising free flu shots. And I'm like, we were both always of a mind, I would never get a flu shot beforehand anyway, because to me, that's just a recipe for disaster. And how do we know what's really in that? It's just a flu vaccine.
I'm not a big fan, but.
And I didn't catch the flu beforehand, and because I wasn't around anybody. But I'm definitely not worried about catching the flu now, being around people, because my immune system is at top-notch level now. It's like operating as it was designed. So what am I?
It probably won't kick you as bad if you did come in contact with it. So, have you ever had the flu?
Oh yeah, I've had the flu.
Okay, I've had the flu one time in my whole entire life. I was 18 years old, and I just got my first real job, and I had to call in sick my first day of work because I had the flu, and I thought I was dying. I wasn't really sure. I never had it. I thought I was dying. But that's the only time in my whole entire life I've ever had it. So, when you're talking about the flu shot, I'm like, I've had it one time in 53 years. So why am I going to get a shot every year to prevent something I've only had once in my life? I'm not saying it won't suck if I get it, and I'll probably be going, I wish I would have got the shot. But, to me, the odds, now watch, I'm probably going to get the flu just because I said that. But, I just don't really see the sense in that, and I don't have a compromised immune system, and I'm not around a bunch of sicky people, so.
And I'll tell you what, if I do get the flu, I won't be grabbing the bottle of 7-Up or Sprite again. You get the flu, you couldn't stand the taste of water or anything healthy. No, you had to get sugar and cut your tongue with it in order to survive the flu.
I don't really get that, but it's true.
We've only got about 4 minutes left.
Yep.
I want to let everybody know this episode's going to be uploaded. It's going to be up on Amber's Low Star Keto Girls. What's your name? Her Instagram for 24 hours, but it'll also be uploaded to the KetovoreKast YouTube channel. Feel free to share it with your friends. Anybody you think could benefit from learning about what we've talked about, don't hesitate. Share it. You have our permission to always share it.
Absolutely.
Because
if you have any ideas you want us to discuss or whatever to talk about, please feel free to let us know, or just pop on and ask questions. We love that.
Right.
That's why we do this format, so we can kind of get feedback and to, maybe help somebody more direct. So
Holly K2, several numbers, says, I work at middle school with snotty middle school kids, and I think I have an immunity.
I bet you probably
Good
do.
for you. Good for you. I love that. That's too cool. Well, I've heard one of Amber O'Hearn's kids, she carried while she was carnivore. And her other 2 kids, she was eating other things.
Mm-hmm.
And the child that was raised, she carried carnivore, he never gets sick. At school, at public school, he never gets sick. He doesn't miss because of that, ever. The flu will come through, kids, even when they were little kids, somebody puked all over so-and-so. Oh my gosh, they're going to get sick. He never gets sick. I think there's something to that.
Things that make you go,
Well, if you're not consuming toxins and your body's operating as it was designed, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
to me.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, we appreciate you all coming out. You're the host. We've only got a couple minutes left. I don't want us to run out of time here.
Okay. To be meat heavy with a few veggies here and there. Yeah, I don't want to come across as being this person who thinks that all vegetables are just evil, blah, hate them. No, I like vegetables. I personally do better without them. I don't need the fiber. I don't want it. I function really well without them. Maybe somebody else can have a few and it be okay. And that's very individual. But for me, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being on a really good low-carb ketogenic diet if that's what it takes to help you. For us, it takes a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's why we're called the KetovoreKast. It's because, the carnivore way of eating is a ketogenic diet, just like the regular keto diet. The goal is to get into ketosis. You want to be burning fat instead of sugar. And that's what we're doing here. You've got less than a minute left, my dear.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks y'all for joining us, and we'll see y'all next week. So have a wonderful week.
And always remember, no matter what, be thankful.
Be thankful. Bye, y'all.
Take care, people.